What is going on, my fast friends? Welcome to Moto-R. Welcome to the channel. Today we are with the 2018 Kawasaki Z900 and we will be discussing and I will show you how to conduct a service that is often overlooked. Now, I have searched far and wide over the entire internet trying to find a how-to video on how to conduct a coolant change. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't have it, and most videos will not show up in any other Google searches. So what I ended up having to do is actually download the service manual and looked up some forums to find out how exactly to get this service done. Even when searching videos regarding how to conduct a coolant service, I noticed that the Z900 was a little bit different. The cooling system was a little bit different. The reserve tank was in a unfamiliar place compared to many other motorcycles, and that was the brain fog for me. I could not figure out how would I be able to take out the reserve tank as it sits right under the actual frame, right under the seat and the engine, right behind the engine of the Z900 motorcycle. Obviously, the first thing that we should do is make sure you have a service manual because it can explain a lot. I am kind of upset that I did not download the service manual sooner, but I will put the link down below to the service manual. You can get it for free depending if someone uploads it to files under the Z900 Facebook group, or you can buy it yourself for a fee of about $89. The service actually does not have to be done until about 22,000 miles, although every time you have a service interval, you need to actually check your levels, check your hoses, inspect your cooling system to make sure they are running the right way. The service manual says after every 3 years or at 22,000 miles, they want you to replace the coolant in the actual bike, in the radiator, and they actually want you to check and inspect the hoses. Sometimes you may or may not have to replace them. They do suggest that you replace them, but I'm gonna make that your call regarding how you see your hoses and O-rings if they are still working right. So we're gonna go ahead and just take a quick look at the Z900 and explain that and I want to show you closely that this is where the reserve tank is at. So this is where you would actually fill the reserve tank. So in order to get that or get to this area, you need to take off your frame, your fairing that covers the frame. You're also going to need to take out this lower part here, lower fairing, so you can actually inspect your hoses. The radiator, inspect your hoses, make sure that they're all working fine, that there's no tears, that there's no bumps on it. You want to inspect all of that and make sure everything is looking good. Now, when you come out to the other side, the right side of the motorcycle, you're going to want to take off your right fairing that comes over the actual radiator cap. You can get to the radiator cap without actually taking it off. So what I did is I already have taken it off, take off this entire fairing. So they're all sitting right here. So that is the upper right fairing, these two right here that you have to take off the motorcycle in order to do this service. So again, you just want to make sure that you inspect the hoses, make sure that they're looking good. Before you start this, you're definitely gonna want the bike cooled down. You don't want it to be hot, obviously. The way you take off the radiator cap, you're gonna turn it and then you're gonna have to push it down to pop it off. And that's gonna be the coolant sitting in it. You wanna make sure that it's slightly off, so when you do drain it, you can make sure that there's nothing, there's no pressure so that all the coolant can actually flow down. Alright guys, so once the cover is off for the radiator cap, you are going to go to the water pump, and as you can see, the radiator hose goes all the way down here to the water pump. This is the drain bolt right here. So what you're going to have to do is get a 8mm. Make sure you have a container, because that's where you want to catch all of the coolant that drops. Now this can be harmful, so you definitely do want to catch it here and dispose of it correctly. So the first thing you're going to do in order to drain your coolant, to get all the coolant out of the system, is unplug the drain bolt using an 8mm, and make sure you have a container. I'm gonna go grab some gloves because I don't want to get it all over my hands, so I'll be right back. All right, so now that I got some gloves, this is gonna be the first time I'm doing this. I don't know how it's gonna come out. I'm guessing it's gonna come straight out and drop right here. So let's go ahead and get it off. You can see it kind of dripping out already, that green, and there you go. So we're gonna go ahead and let that drain for a little bit. Oh. All right guys, so that actually took a little bit of time. If you need to get it off that rear stand and kind of shake it a little bit to try to get all of the coolant out, go ahead and do that. What I ended up doing in the meantime was trying to figure out how to get the coolant out of the reserve tank, the coolant reserve tank. Now, if you can see here, this line that goes from the radiator, this little line right here, actually goes all the way down behind this frame and back, connecting to the reservoir tank. See, the reservoir tank is right there. I'm pointing at it, pointing directly at it. Now, you have to fish out this line under this frame and bring it back out in order to put it back, in order to drain the actual reservoir tank. So that's what we're going to do now. I just got to make sure that the other side is drained so I can use the same drainage pan. So we're gonna go ahead and use our pliers to get these off. And you have little clamps right here. You might actually be able to do it with your hand. Just slide it down. So you're sliding it down, and that way you're able to pull this off. All right, so I was able to fish it out. You're gonna have to get it below the frame. Doesn't seem like there's any fluids in here. It's all down on the reservoir tank. So I'm just gonna go ahead and let that hang. I know where it comes off right here, so I am gonna start pulling it. Look back there, the reservoir tank. This connects straight to that reservoir tank. So I gotta put the drip pan down here, and hopefully. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I actually spilled a little bit of it, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this down over here, and I'm gonna start draining the reservoir. And that should get most of it out of there. All right guys, so another important thing, it doesn't show in the manual, but you're gonna want to clean out your reservoir tank. You're gonna want to flush out your radiator once you get all of this out. So what I like to do is get a bottle or gallon of distilled water and just run a funnel down through the reservoir tank first, and then run it down from the radiator to the drain plug to get all that old coolant out of your motorcycle. That way it also cleans up the hose. You want to be able to fill this entire reservoir up so that it fills up with distilled water, and then drain it all over again like you're draining the coolant. So you can watch the levels Get it completely filled. And then move on to the other side. And you're grabbing the hose, bring it down, and then draining the reservoir tank with distilled water, cleaning out that antifreeze off of your reservoir. Alright guys, so we got the hose back on. We are going to clean out the radiator, and as we put distilled water in here, it will be coming out of the drain plug from the water pump. So I got my funnel here, radiator cap is out, and I want to slowly put this water in here so that it can drain out from the other side. So you can see as the water gets clear, that means all the antifreeze is out of the system. Alright guys, so now we're gonna go ahead and put the water pump drain plug back in. And once it's good and tight, this could be a messy job, so if you have a mat, something like this, you might want to put it under. I kind of decided later on that I was going to put it under there, but you definitely want to, if you have a mat, service mat, you definitely want to put it under this. Now what I'm going to do now is go to the other side, and we are going to fill the engine ice to the proper levels. So this is where the radiator cap would go. After you put your overflow hose, you are going to put the engine ice. Put the engine ice in, let it slowly sink down. It does take a while to get through the entire cooling system all the way to your water pump, so you do not want to overflow it quickly. From my understanding, the Z900 can take anywhere from in between a half gallon and a gallon, so I have a gallon of engine ice to fill the radiator, the system, and the reserve tank. So same thing here, take off the reserve tank cover, set it down, place your funnel, and you're gonna fill it up till you hit the full line, and you can see it right over here. All right, so it is just at the full line. I'm gonna go ahead and toss that over here, put the filler back on, and there you go guys. The bike has had the old coolant taken out. It has had the distilled water flushed through the system so it can get all that old contaminants out, and we added it with engine ice coolant. Now the thing about these coolant, the thing that I've been hesitating on switching it out is because although it's a good coolant, the recommendation is that you swap it out every 12 months, and coolant antifreeze you don't have to. So these are supposed to be better. They're supposed to be better for track riding. They're supposed to be better to a certain degree. I believe it's 295 degrees that it'll work in, and it's overall just a better product. The only thing is that you have to switch it out every 12 months. Some people don't want to do that because it's about $23 for every half gallon. If you're usually gonna need a gallon, or in between a gallon you need 2 bottles, so that'll run you almost $50 every year for it. So not many people like it for that reason, but it doesn't mean it's not a good product. It is a great product, a little bit expensive, but if you have regular antifreeze, sometimes you don't have to change it till like 20,000 miles, and the service manual for this does say 22,000 miles to change the antifreeze. and to change all the hoses either that or 3 years. So if you have any questions regarding this tutorial, if you have any questions regarding engine eyes or switching it into engine eyes, let me know in the comments below. I'm gonna go ahead and put back all the fairings to the motorcycle and I'm gonna run it and see how it runs. Guys, this has been Moto-R. Thank you very much for spending a little bit of your time hanging out with me. You could have been doing anything in this entire world, and you chose to spend a little bit of time learning about changing coolants for the Kawasaki Z900. See you on the next one, guys. Peace.